Welcome to Wild Salmon Day, everybody. We're here in the Convo Mall on the Burnaby campus at SFU, and we have some people who have traveled far and wide and come here to represent the salmon. So if you have a drum or a salmon person, come by the microphone. We'll do a hello and an intro. So we have Adrian Sylvester and Shauna Green who have come across the Salish Sea. Why don't you give a hello to everybody in Radioland?
Oh, hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Sorry about that.
Okay. How about I ask you a question?
Sure.
So how was your travel last night?
Oh, it was great. It was long, but we didn't get to sleep till 1 o'clock in the morning, but we're here.
Yeah, thank you. Well,
It's fun.
You and your 2-year-old warrior.
Yeah, my son Lauren.
Yes, thank you. We're going to tell people you paddled over, so yeah.
Canoe's down in the bay right now.
Nice. So why don't you let everyone know where you're from?
Okay, I'm from the Cowichan Valley in Vancouver Island. We've been salmon warriors for generations through the family. I take after my father. My son will take after me, and it'll keep going. 1973, my father set up a weir across the river in Cowichan Valley in protest of unfairness of the salmon being distributed to the people. And to him, the people are more important than basically any laws that stops us from the salmon. So our survival is salmon. Salmon is so good for your immune system. It's a total good one for your body. That's why our people have thrived so long on the salmon.
Beautiful. Well, we'll come back to you and get you to share some more stories.
Sure.
And you had a travel buddy here.
Yeah, here's my sister.
Shauna Green Baptiste, welcome.
Good morning. My name is Shauna Green. My whole community name is to say Wutana. It means the helper. We have the great honor of coming here today from Cowichan. We are wild salmon warriors, and we carry that with such honor. We've been doing such things in the valley as having boycotts against farmed feedlot salmon at Superstore and Walmart. We've been doing that with under the direction of Eddie Gardner, our elder. The Cowichan people are very, very dependent on salmon, and the children of tomorrow may not have salmon if we don't do something today. My son is 6 years old, and I've learned that especially the ones in our river, they're not going to be the same in about 10 years. I was told that there aren't going to be any salmon soon if we don't start taking care of the rivers and the oceans. Especially, we need to get rid of farm salmon. We need to get rid of farm salmon. It's become an industry, and it's making something that's wild and very special to not just Native people, to everybody. We're killing off something if we buy something that's farmed. It's fish jail, and it's not fair. And so, yeah, we've come here to drum and to talk, and it's such an honor to be here today. Thank
you, Shauna Green, and thank you for traveling and late last night. We have Audrey Siegel Musqueam. Welcome. We're on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, and Audrey is here and representing her nation, her community. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and I would like to thank our two guests for traveling so far and bringing your amazing work and words, because this is how we've always done things. We banded together, and we've been forced into the role of protector. We were always stewards of the land, and now we have to be protectors, and we protect the salmon, we protect the water, we protect the land, we protect ourselves, primarily our women especially, because it's true, what we do to this earth is what we do to ourselves. And when we keep allowing destructive forces to keep removing the things that we need, all we're doing is ensuring failure for all human beings, and this is completely unacceptable. What it really comes down to is that we've always lived in a sustainable way, and we have to find our way back to it, not just as First Nations people, but at Nutsamat as one, all of the nations, all of the colors from everywhere. We have to find our way back to what is now called a sustainable way of living, find our way back to nature, because man cannot control everything. Man must find his place again, which is working with nature and often working for nature.
Beautiful. Thank you, Audrey. We'll hang on to the microphone here, and we'll bring in Archie Peters, who's come all the way from Mount Curry-Lilwa territory. He doesn't want to come on now, right? All right. Well, Shirley Samples around. Well, I'll give you a bit of background on the farm salmon movement. For those of you who are not aware, there is a foreign species, Atlantic salmon, that has been that's grown in open net cages in the Pacific coast. And it is a domesticated species, and the analogy is like growing Holsteins in your backyard pond. It's a food supply. It's an industrialized food supply, and the original intent from industry was to sustain food supply and reduce the threat of extinction to a wild salmon population by having an alternative food. But what's happened is it grown so much and become such a large industry that it's created a whole host of other problems. And for example, the regulations in British Columbia by the BC government are lax relative to Norway, where this whole industry started. And so industrial fish farm operators fleeing higher regulations out of Norway, which is a more active social democracy, they've come to BC and have expanded their industry here and have created a lot of problems. So you see a lot of protests and direct action at the grocery stores and Salmon Wars, educating people on the dangers of farm salmon and what it means to the watersheds, the salmon, the ocean environments, and in particular, the salmon industry is allowed to shoot sea lions and seals as predators to open caged fish farms. That's not permitted in some other areas of the world. That's not permitted in Scotland and Norway, but in Canada or British Columbia, the government allows that as a practice to protect the profits of the open net feedlots. So, all right, we've got some other guests here on the program. Shirley Samples has come a far way, and we're going to shift the conversation a bit into climate justice. If you think of a salmon in the water is essentially the final waste dump after everything we pollute. Everything eventually flows into the ocean, and the way to get there is from the tributaries, the small streams, the rivers, and it all ends up in the ocean. And if it doesn't get degraded there, it floats around. And Shirley Samples is a lover of whales, and we'll get her to maybe talk about some of her work in the community and some of the work she's done to support Indigenous peoples and the environmental issues.
Oh, thank you, Jay. I started a while ago, about 2.5 years ago, when I first found out that there were actually oil tankers in the Burrard Inlet. This changed my life because I thought, how can we put at risk our beautiful west coast by having oil tankers going through these waters? So I started with one sign that said, "We love this coast." And since then, we've created a banner that says, "We love this coast." And it actually has evolved into a group. And we have a website called welovethiscoast.com. We are on Facebook, We Love This Coast. And why I feel so strongly about protecting the salmon is because the salmon really are the backbone of so many ecological systems in our province. As Jay mentioned, I'm really partial to orca whales, and if we lose our salmon, then we're going to lose our whales. And then one step further, if tankers going through our waters and we have a spill, we're going to lose our whales. So then after doing this work for quite a while and enjoying the beautiful community that has formed, especially on Burnaby Mountain, it came to be actually on different levels of issues that have seemed to be really important to me. So right now we're trying to stop the tar sands pipelines, Kinder Morgan. And it isn't just because it's in our area. The tar sands, if the provincial government and the Asian government and the oil companies have their way, by 2050 they want to expand the tar sands so large that it won't matter what one country in the whole world does to stop CO2 emissions. Canada will have blown it for the planet. That is why, personally, I stand up at every event. Personally, why I go to the events, because it's time that everyone take a stand and make sure our government realizes that climate change is creating the peril of our province, our country, and our world. I would like to just mention the importance of, today we're talking about salmon, and I came across some interesting things about the Cohen report. And the Cohen report is what the government commissioned and spent $26 million to do research on salmon and the state of our salmon in our province. And I would like to just read one of the paragraphs of that article. It said, "The Commission concluded that climate change is one of the most troubling stressors for the salmon. Salmon are sensitive to water temperature changes, and Fraser River waters are projected to warm. Canada must do its part to address climate change if fisheries management is to have any influence on the future of these amazing creatures and all that depend on them." And another interesting fact that I think people in Canada need to know is that the Fraser watershed are 5 to 6 degrees Celsius higher than average. So that's 5 or 6 degrees higher than average, and when you have sensitive ecosystems, that is a huge thing to consider, with 14 of the past 20 seasons being among the warmest on record. So what I'm doing right now, and it's kind of an interesting thing how we evolve into other groups, other interests. I've started working with a group it's called System Change, Not Climate Change, and they are a group that is forming from all the different cities in North America, and they are really on the cutting edge to try and find a way that we can create change from the bottom up. It doesn't seem like the governments today, or even the big green groups, although they try really hard, we need to get people, the grassroots people, to rise up so we can create change. So I really encourage people, if you can, to go on to that website, System Change, Not Climate Change, and have a look at it and get involved and submit articles, whatever you like. And also on our Facebook page, We Love This Coast. We'd love you to join our group and become part of our group and come to our events. We have lots of really good events planned this year. Thank you.
Beautiful. I have a question for her, and you could. It's kind of theoretical, but if you could change the world, and if everyone had the time, and maybe we gave them 10 minutes to drop everything that wasn't unnecessary, what would it look right now for you?
I think everyone would go outside, find a beautiful tree, and sit there and really meditate and really connect with nature and listen to nature, listen to Mother Earth. She has a huge message for us. And if each of us became an advocate for her, could you just imagine what we could change, how we could change the world? It would just be amazing. So that's probably, it's really basic thing, but I think if in each of us, if we can connect with that place that wants to protect the earth, then I think the earth, we will protect it because we'll become all connected together.
Beautiful. Well, we'll look for that tree. There's a whole bunch on Burnaby Mountain that we've got to protect. So thanks, Shirley Samples. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Look for Shirley in the We Love This Coast banner. All right. And now we have the amazing Eddie Gardner, Wild Sand Warrior Elder, Stella Nation. Why don't you give Radioland an introduction of yourself and what the salmon means to you and your community.
I see. Well, my Wilmot name is Taitlam Spath, and it means singing bear. I'm a member of the Squaw First Nation. We're Stalo people of the river, and I'm very pleased and happy that Squaw First Nation has taken leadership in supporting the rally that took place at the border that called for an international investigation on Canada's failure to protect wild salmon. And there were a number of groups, two on the Canadian side and two on the U.S. side, that pushed for the North American Free Trade Agreement to launch this investigation. And the Squaw First Nation wrote a letter in support of that. They also they hosted a fantastic dinner and received the people who traveled down in 2010 on the paddle of wild salmon. That went to the Cohen Commission that Shirley Samples just mentioned, and the Cohen Commission was there to investigate the collapse of the 2009 salmon runs. And amazingly, in 2010, there was a resurgence of the wild salmon. And there are a number of theories as to why that happened. One being from Alexander Morton, who said that the fish farms let their fish farms follow during the migration of the smolts that went out 4 years earlier. And so that gave a chance for the wild salmon to come back. Since then, we've had a fairly good run, but our salmon is endangered. And we have a number of people who are really dedicated to saving our wild salmon. And they have mobilized thousands and thousands of people, not only here in British Columbia, but elsewhere as well. There are people who are moving to have fish farms removed from the coastal waters because the aquaculture industry has a technology that is fundamentally flawed. The open net pens do not create any barrier between farm salmon and the marine environment and wild salmon that have to pass through them. They are a cesspool. They're floating sewers, and they release their untreated feces into the ocean. And it's toxic as well because it's chemically ridden. They have to use chemicals to try and fight off the sea lice, which is a losing battle, and they use antibiotics as well. So the ocean is already plagued by too much pollution, and we don't need any more. So we see the science that has been done. I'm very, very happy and honored actually to be here at Simon Fraser University because we have Rick Rudeledge, Dr. Rick Rudeledge, who works tirelessly and he dedicates his knowledge, his skills, the science that he has to to investigate whether or not wild salmon and farm salmon are infected with various deadly viruses like the infectious salmon anemia and Piscine reovirus. He worked very closely with Dr. Alexander Morton, who has done so much work in trying to save wild salmon from industrial fish farms. And here we are, 20 ever since 1989, when the fish farms were first introduced to the BC coast by the NDP, and the Cohen Commission has come and gone. The science has continued on, and we're seeing a lot of salmon up the river that are suffering from pre-spawn deaths. They can't make it up the river, and that's because of the pollution. That's because of the disease transfer from the aquaculture industry, from the open net pens to wild salmon that have to pass by them. And it appears that there's a lock-in between corporations and government. It doesn't seem to matter whether or not the Liberal government is in power or the NDP is in power. It doesn't make a doggone difference because they don't give a hoot about wild salmon. It's sad. It's very, very sad and very disappointing. Adrian Dix in the last election lost the election for a number of reasons, but one of them was his failure to take a stand for wild salmon. And if you ask the NDP today whether they're going to take a stand for wild salmon and have the fish farms removed from the coastal waters of BC, I don't think that they would utter a single word about that. They're chicken. They're scared. They're afraid that they will lose money, perhaps from donations from the aquaculture industry, and they're afraid that the aquaculture industry will cry, "Oh, you're going to lose jobs," or some crazy thing like that. It's absolutely disgusting, and I think that what it comes down to now is that very much as Shirley Sample said, if we're going to have wild salmon, it's going to be up to the people. And that's why I have been a part of a boycott of ocean farm salmon. And we have many warriors that have emerged and are very active, going in front of superstores, Walmarts, Costco, and all the other big box stores that are selling this contaminated, inferior product that wreaks havoc with human health. Doctors around the world, health experts around the world are saying, don't eat this because it can cause health problems. They have dioxins, PCBs in the fat of these farm salmon, and they're carcinogenic. And for pregnant women in particular, when they consume that and absorb the dioxins and the PCBs and the other contaminants, they download it onto the baby, and the baby can suffer from health, suffer with health problems for the rest of their life. So, anyways, do you have a question?
Well, I do. We're here at SFU, and Eddie and I have been working behind the scenes here to try and get SFU as a farm salmon-free zone, and I did want to mention that the Simon Fraser Administration Food Services don't sell farm salmon.
Yay!
Neither does the pub.
Woohoo!
Nesters serves only wild. Nature's Garden.
Yeah.
The Ilya Club restaurant, which he also owns an organic restaurant in Port Moody. The only two establishments on the campus are two private sushi restaurants that sell open at farm salmon, and so
Boo.
We're hoping with Eddie's help and boo. Can you hear us? Have something else, children. It's you heard what Eddie said, and don't pass it on to your kids. But a lot of the research, as you said, Rick Rutledge supported Alexandra Morton, who's this has been a very friendly campus to the salmon, and it is known as Simon Fraser University, but Eddie's sister, Ethel, who did a opening at a film screening, said that, well, Simon Fraser was on Stalo, which is river. So she said this is actually Stalo U.
Yeah, Stalo U. All right. It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah, we got some paint so we can start changing the signs here.
Yeah.
And we'll put fish in the pond there. They got some koi. It's totally the wrong domesticated species. I wouldn't eat it. So we'll leave the koi alone for now, but a farm salmon free zone sounds like a good ring, eh?
That is, yeah, absolutely. And I'm very, very happy that we have today Shauna Baptiste, who has been very active with the fish farms in Duncan, and she has a lot to say about how precious and how important wild salmon is, not only to us as Wilmot people. We as Wilmot people look upon salmon as actually our relatives, and we conduct ceremonies every year in our territories to welcome back the salmon, and we do this with great reverence. And I just got 3 minutes, so I guess I better start talking fast. And
you got to hear Eddie live.
Audrey Segal, thank you so much for all the good work that you do. The last and Shirley Samples, OCM, thank you. Lois LaRose, Neil Neil Lafra. Yeah, we have lots of beautiful people here who are taking a stand for wild salmon. I just want to close by saying that we're going to be embarking on a wild salmon caravan that's going to come down from the headwaters all the way down to the coast. And along the way, we're going to be following the little smolts that head out to the big ocean. So we're going to be following the spirit of wild salmon. In each community that we stop, we're going to be holding community dinners so that the community can share what they're doing to save wild salmon from fracking, from irresponsible mining, from pipelines, from agricultural practices that cause chemicals to go into the river and pollute the river, hazardous waste facilities all the way down to Burnaby here, where we're fighting to Kinder Morgan against that pipeline. That will mean if they succeed, there's super tankers, and then of course the industrial fish farms. So, my dear ones, watch out for May. The beginning of May, this caravan is going to come to town, and we're going to do whatever we can to influence the federal election and get a government in power that will do something serious about saving our Mother Earth and saving our precious wild salmon, the keystone species of British Columbia.
Awesome. That's Eddie Gardner, and we'll just kind of hand it over to Amy Goodman. If you know who Amy Goodman is, Democracy Now! Is at 11.